Good morning, everyone. Hello. I hope you all are fine in your home. Stay at home, stay safe. Continuing with the learning objective of compiler design, today we will discuss what is the runtime environment and various storage management techniques in compiler design. So, I, Professor Arya Agrawal, we shall continue with the today's topic. Okay. So we shall see what is the brief outline of the today's discussion. We will see what is the actual runtime storage management, what is the necessity for this runtime storage management, and what are the various techniques through which we can do this runtime storage management. Next is actually why do we need these storage allocations, why it is important, why we are caring so much for this storage allocation on this only two words, storage and allocation. What impact does it do, what impact does it place in the efficiency of any execution of any compiler program or anything software. Next we shall see what compiler must do for storage allocation and how to provide access to variable and data during runtime. Then we shall see what are the various memory management techniques, that is stack allocation, heap allocation, heap management, and garbage collection. So we shall see this one by one. So first, it is very important for us to understand that what do we mean by the runtime. What do we mean by runtime? Runtime is nothing but the time in which the program is loaded from secondary memory to main memory for execution. This time is called as the runtime. Okay, so there can be many operations which are to be performed during this runtime. Some simple operations, some machine level operations, performing computations, arithmetic operations, and it can be various activities. So all these activities will be performed during the runtime of the compiler. So that is why it is very essential for us to manage this runtime very effectively. Since we know that many languages today are high level languages, they support the various high level programming constructs. So it becomes much more difficult for us to load this and manage all this. Okay, but this task is generally calculated with the help of some procedure, subroutine, macros, everything which are nothing but our system software. Okay, and we make use of some standard libraries which are available in the system itself for performing these computations. What is the compiler runtime? Actually it is a nothing but it is a part of the implementation of the code, run program, whatever we are executing, it is a part of that. So part means the program from which the time in which it is loaded into the main memory for execution. So when it will be brought to main memory for execution, it will be a part of the runtime implementation, not directly not available directly to program. Okay, only when it is bought for execution, that time only it will be available. Its interface may not be documented. Special calling sequences will be used that we will see later in this session, and the tailoring ASM must be appropriated. If we use the machine level language or assembly level language, then it should be very much it should be used appropriately. We shall see one by one. Okay, special operating system interface delivering as a part of compiler licensing consideration will apply. So we'll discuss all these things one by one. See, runtime in C. When we are talking over here, we will discuss memory management and all garbage collection with respect to C programming. So already we are very much familiar with C, but we'll see which are the functions, which are the memory management functions in C, which will be applicable here. Okay. Here you can see the storage organization. It contains of starting from the bottom, it contains a stack memory, it contains some free memory if available, it is not compulsory, then heap, then static, and then code. So this free memory is the memory where your programs will be loaded. it is very essential for us to understand the difference between these two allocation techniques. First is static and second one is the dynamic. So we are very much familiar that static is nothing but it is a compile time execution, and dynamic it is the runtime execution. So in static allocation, compile time will be allocated, program will be run at compile. Stack management. See, stack must be allocated for each task in the program. A stack is nothing but it is a some amount of memory which is available in the during runtime. Okay, usually it is handled by the operating system. This is a run memory which is handled by the operating system, and it grows eventually as long as the data is coming into the stack, or we have the maximum amount of memory. So we don't have to worry about what will be the size of the stack and how to check overflow underflow. It will be managed all by the operating system, so we may not to worry about that. Okay, next. In heap management, basic semantics is allocated or free, where the parameter for allocation is considered, which are size, alignments. Okay, alignment can be checked by using various memory allocation techniques such as malloc. For example, in C programming language, we use malloc function. Parameters for free, probably just address, perhaps size, align, as well as in ADA. Okay, these are the various functions which are being used in various different programming languages. We can use any one of them. OS heap allocation. See, generally when we talk of this heap allocation technique, in suppose if we consider the C programming language, then we have four functions: malloc, calloc, realloc, and free function. These four functions are responsible for managing the memory management in compiler for C programming language. And we know that malloc takes the bytes in size in bytes. It returns the max align address. It takes the free addresses, optimize performance, and often algorithm is not documented. So when we consider malloc, it will allocate only that much size which is required by the the size is being computed, and then only that much amount of size will be allocated by the compiler during execution. So advantage is that no memory will be wasted. Since it is a dynamic allocation technique, only the total amount of memory which is required will be allocated. If we consider static allocation here, that is array, then in array we can declare an array of size 100, but we will use only 2 or 3 bytes. But we are declaring 100 bytes, we are using only 2 or 3 bytes. So what will eventually happen is 96 or 97 bytes will be wasted. So that is a drawback of static allocation. But in malloc or a dynamic memory allocation, this is not possible, because only the required amount of memory which is required will be allocated. So no memory will be wasted here. So these are the operating system concepts for memory management, which are the commit strategies, where we will see one by one with an example: physical allocation, virtual allocation, allocated at runtime, storage committed at use time, how to check overflow checking, out of bound memory, and what are the difficulties which we face while using commit on use. We'll see with an example. So consider this is an algorithm or running algorithm of a quick sort program which we are very much familiar with. See, here an integer is designed with having 11 elements. Okay, we will read the array one by one. So here in this code we will read only 1 to 9 elements. We are declared 11, we are reading 9. Okay, so here in partition we know that quicksort works on divide and conquer technique. So here first one is the partition, means here picks in partition int m comma int n. This is the divide algorithm. Here we are dividing a list of elements into two subgroups, okay, by choosing one of the pivot element. We are very much familiar with that. And next one is the sorting of that by using quick sort algorithm. See, here there are two groups. Here we have taken quick sort as a recursive technique, which will be sort the recursive. See, why we have taken this into consideration is, here the most task is, first we have to read 9 integers, then we have to perform divide, then we have to combine or conquer all those elements by using the recursive technique of quick sort. Okay, so what will happen here is, when we enter the quicksort algorithm, first if it will be executing the main function, then it will read the array, then it will leave the array, then it will enter the quicksort of 1 to 9 element, then it will first enter the partition, then it will leave the partition, then it will enter quicksort. So this is nothing but the workflow of the quicksort algorithm, how the steps will be activated during the execution of the quicksort algorithm. Okay, and then finally after everything is done, we can leave the quick sort, then we can leave the main program, and then we can leave the main function, and then we can check the output by giving proper input. Okay, so this next is the activation tree. See, what happens here is, the following represent the activation tree representing various calls during execution of a quick sort. Okay, so here it is again various calls, means, see, here we are using partition algorithm, and then we are using the quick sort algorithm. So we have to partition, first divide and then partition, then divide and then partition, and then perform quick sort. So this all task has been done recursively till all the elements are sorted. See, first if you see an m, then it will be partitioned into quick sort queue of 1 of 9, having a pivot element from P 1 to 9. So this is a first pivot element, then we are partitioning this into two parts. See, q of 1 comma 3, q of 5 comma 9. Okay, then again it will be partitioned into three subgroups. Okay, p1 3, q1 comma 0, q2 comma 3. So till what level this partitioning have been is to be done is, till we get this array in a sorted form by using the pivot element. Okay, and when all the elements are being sorted, then we place the pivot into its appropriate location. So this is how the concept of quick sort. So here activation tree is, whenever we are performing a quick sort on the numbers, it is being growing at every level, but tree has been formed and it is growing at every level. So this is an activation tree. Activation record. The procedure call and returns are usually managed by a runtime stack called as the control stack. This is the stack which is being managed during the runtime, and it is called as the control stack. Each live activation have a activation record. It is called as the execution frame, or simply the frame. The root of the activation tree is at the bottom of the stack. Okay, the current execution path specifies the content of the stack, with last activation of the record is the top of the stack. We will see with an example. See, this is a general diagram of the activation record. Here you can see, from starting from the bottom, first we have a collection of temporaries, then we have local data, we have saved machine status, which is obtained during execution, or status during running time. Then next is the access link, control link, return values, and the actual parameter. See, Based on the actual parameters, execution may change. Whenever we'll try to change the parameters, we'll obtain a different result for each and every execution. Here you can see downward growing stack of activation record. See here, first only we are considering only of the consider this, we are considering only the main function. But when we are again moving for again we are moving with execution, here you will see it is growing. Again if you split that queue of 1 on 9, see again it is growing. And when we try to split, again it is growing means it will occupy more memory at more levels in the execution time. So this will increase the execution space, execution time, and it will also increase the efficiency. If it takes more time, then it will be less efficient, but if it takes less time, then it will be more efficient. So during this, what happens? Suppose during performing the quick sort execution, sometimes when we call, so we need to transfer control from one execution block to another execution block. These are called as the calling sequence. Okay. So here you can see that first, considering that background general structure which we have discussed previously, see at the bottom we have the temporary and local data. So here there are two parties which will be interacting with each other. First one is the caller and second one is the callee. Okay, first one is the caller and second one is the callee. So these two will be responsible for performing the communication in activation record. Okay, so it is, see, and the role is being clearly mentioned, which are the which is area is being covered by the caller and which area is being covered by the callee. Here you can see that this diagram will represent. See, so here what is to be taken into consideration is only the control link which has been transferred from one place to another place. See, temporary and local data already available in memory stack, but this control transfer has to be taken into consideration for every function or every control transfer wherever it occurs in the program. The calling sequence is that the caller evaluates the actual parameters which is being given by the user. If the parameters change, it will eventually result in changing the output of the function. The caller stores the return address and the old value of top SP into the caller's activation record. The callee saves the register value and other status information, and then the callee initializes its local data and begins the execution, which we have discussed in this diagram. Corresponding return sequence. See, whenever we perform a jump from one control link to another control link, it is therefore necessary to come and return back to the previous execution statement from where the jump was initiated. So for that we use corresponding return sequences. We'll see how this works. See, when this is taken, consider a dynamic allocated array. See, here when we control transfer from one location, see, one link to another link. See, here if we have a, there should be definitely a return sequence from where the jump was initiated, because finally when this jump to a function, then the function will start its execution, execute all the statements block execute in that function, and after executing it will return back to the calling function. Okay, so here we can see some arrays on some functions are being represented. Okay, here we have given an activation record for P, then P performs P representing to the various pointer to an arrays, pointer to A, array A, pointer to B, array B, pointer to C, array C. and after execution this control will be transferred back over here, see, to the control link and status signal. That is, you can see step by step that access link, first it was a first element, then after for partition 1 to 9 element, this access element again it is returning back to this. In this diagram it will return back. See, again if you partition 1 to 9 and then 1 to 3, then 1 to 9 will again return back to the access link. This is will already return to access link. Similarly, you can check for diagram C and diagram D also. So each access link after execution will return back to the calling sequence from it was called. So here we know we are using some data structure for allocating memories. So here these are dynamic, since it is a dynamic technique, we'll use of linked list. So here it is storing the first one is the total number of elements 1 to 9, which is this address is stored in D1, and then the status is saved in D2. Similarly here also. Similarly, when the list grows, that will again grow. It will again grow, which will eventually lead in the increase of size of stack. Memory management. This is very important now to understand what is the role of memory management. See, we have two types of memory. First one is the memory which is the physical memory, and second one is the memory which is the secondary memory, means that is RAM and ROM. We know that RAM memory is limited, ROM memory is not limited. We can have nowadays we have 1 TB of ROM memory but only 8 GB of RAM memory. So during execution the program is loaded from ROM memory to RAM memory. Therefore it is very important to minimize the resources of RAM memory. Okay, it should be kept free. If it is fully occupied, then no more execution will be possible in that condition. So it is very essential to manage the RAM memory very effectively. For properties for that are save space efficiency, programming efficiency, low overhead. We will see one by one. So next is the garbage collection. Why we are mostly talking about the garbage collection and its importance is that whenever we make use of any program and if we have performed the execution, then it is very compulsory and very essential that that program has to be taken off from the primary memory and loaded back to the secondary memory. Because if that program is not loaded from the if that program is not taken out from the primary memory, it will occupy space, which will result that another process cannot be loaded for execution, so which will decrease the performance. So that's why once an process has completed execution, it has to be removed from the main memory and it has to be stored in the secondary memory. So for that we make use of this garbage collection technique. Here we use the free function FREE in C programming. The free function is used for garbage collection. See, if any amount of memory which is being occupied in the physical memory after execution, then this free function will clear the buffer. It is very one of the important tasks. So garbage collection has to be done in periodic time intervals, which will free your storage automatically when it is no longer needed. Okay, when the memory will be free, so next program which is requiring memory for execution will be allocated memory. If this memory is not released, then those programs has to be kept waiting. That will decrease the performance of the system. Then all these programs which are being loaded in the physical memory are by using only blocks. Okay, these are loaded by using blocks. So we will see what these block structure are in the next lecture. Thanks. If you Thanks for your patience listening. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good day.